What's up everybody, and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome! My name is Dimitra. In today's video we are going to be reviewing the new Kat Von D Metal and Matte palette. I have to commend Kat Von D first and foremost for always producing such killer artwork for all of her products, and this one is definitely no exception. I think the artwork on this is beautiful. I love that it reads both metal and matte when you flip it upside down, and of course you've got her signature seal on either side. If you are interested in learning more about this palette, make sure you keep on watching and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. This palette does carry a hefty price tag, and I didn't want to review it right away because I did hear a few negative things about it. I heard some positive things about it, but I wanted to play with it myself and come up with my own opinions as to whether or not this is something that can be used, whether it's for beginners, intermediate makeup artists, or advanced makeup artistry. It took a little while and it took several looks later, but I feel like I have finally made up my mind about this palette. Let's start with talking about the packaging. Like I said in the intro of this video, I adore the Kat Von D packaging. I love that she is always so creative with her artwork. This is a really nice embossed cover, so it is a little bit raised. It is sleek packaging. It is long. It is a cardboard palette, very similar to all of her other eyeshadow palettes. When you crack it open, you do have a beautiful mirror that you can use. It is long. It's actually a pretty nice mirror, if I do say so myself. And then you've got her actual palette right here. This palette contains 13 matte shadows and 9 shimmer, metal, or foiled shadows, whatever you want to call them. I say they do tend to be more on the foiled side. The package does have a magnet, so it seals like a magnet. Again, very similar to all of her other palettes. I've got her Monarch palette on this side here, and as you can see, it's the exact same concept. You've got your mirror, sorry for blinding you, the palette down here, and the magnetic closure. So nothing is innovative about this particular packaging. Let's now dive into the actual eyeshadows. So this palette, I think I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with. Let me start off with what I love about it. I really like the foiled shadows. I think they are very buttery. They blend out very nicely, but I will say they may seem more pigmented when you swatch them with your fingers than when you actually apply them. I have played with the foiled shadows quite a bit. I tested them out with brushes as well as my fingers and then sponges, and I found the best way to apply them is to actually just use your fingers. That's when you're going to get the most pigmentation. If you do apply them with a brush, they are going to be a little more sparse in color, but you can build them up. But the problem with that, especially if you have oily lids like myself, is that the more you build up the shadow, the more likely it is to crease throughout the day. So you may not want to do that, especially if you have oily lids, but you can if you want to build up the color and you have a solid eye primer. Not all of the foiled shades are made equal, so I'd say my favorite one out of the bunch is definitely Tinsel. I wish this was called Galaxy because it is just such a pretty color, grayish green. It's got a little bit of gold in it depending on the light that's hitting it. It is absolutely stunning. That's one of my favorites in here. I thought I would really like Twinkle, which is this lighter sort of purple color on this side here, but Twinkle isn't as pigmented. When you actually put it on, it is very, very light, and the more you blend it out, the more pigment it actually loses. So I was a little bit disappointed with that color. Flash, because you know I'm a sucker for a good gold, isn't that great with one swatch, but it is one of the colors that you can really build up and get a nice intense gold sheen. So as you can see there, that's 3 swatches in, and 3 swatches in I think gives it the exact color that you see in the pan. And because y'all know I love my Marc Jacobs palette, I am gonna compare it to the gold color that I have in here. So I'm taking a clean finger, I'm gonna take my thumb, I'm gonna stick that into the gold pan, and right next to it, I'm just going to apply one layer. And that's it. You can see the level of intensity there, the pigmentation that's coming out of the there we go. You can see the difference here, the pigmentation between the Marc Jacobs shadow versus the Kat Von D shadow. Of course, the Marc Jacobs shadow is more of a true gold, whereas the gold color in the Kat Von D palette is a little more towards the brown side, a little warmer. And that just gives you an idea of the pigmentation and what differs between these two palettes. I know I am comparing apples to oranges, but I just wanted you to see how a different eyeshadow works as opposed to the ones in this palette here. Overall, I'd say I enjoy using these foiled shadows. Let's move on to the matte colors next. So the matte colors is what I had a problem with in this palette because they are not all equal. The formula seems to be different on several of these colors. I would say the gray, blue, black, and white ones along this side here are probably the most pigmented of the matte shadows, and I found they blended very, very nicely and they applied with a lot of intensity, so you don't need to pick up a lot on your brush when you are applying them to your eyes. The colors that I was probably most disappointed with were these ones on this side here. So save for the green and the purples in the middle, this peach color all the way down to this burgundy color here are the ones that I was most disappointed with because they really lacked pigmentation. I found I had to keep dipping my brush back in there to get some color, and I'll give you an example. So this yellow color here, while it is a pale sort of canary yellow, I try to swatch it on my finger, a little bit of color comes out, but then as you apply, it just comes out very patchy and not pigmented at all. Same goes for the peach color next to it. I really have to dig my finger in there. As you can see, there's quite a bit of fallout because they're quite powdery, and it just applies very patchy. You really have to work the shadow in there, and I just found it very difficult to work with. I've mentioned this in some of my previous videos, so if you've watched them, you probably know exactly what I'm about to say right now. Just because a shadow isn't pigmented doesn't mean it's not a good shadow. It means this could be really great for beginners who are trying to experiment with different colors and different looks, because you aren't going to get a huge level of intensity as soon as you apply a shadow to your eyes. You can gradually build it up so you don't goof up the look too early on. When I compare the matte shadows in this palette to the matte shadows in the Monarch palette, I notice a huge difference, especially in the level of butteriness. These ones are just much creamier and they apply so much more nicely and pigmented and even. They're not patchy at all. I mean, yeah, there is still a little bit of kickback, but they are just stunning. They have this different feel to them, this different texture, which is why I prefer the other Kat Von D palettes, at least for the matte shadows, than I do this metal and matte palette here. Overall, I'd say if you are a makeup collector, if you have a friend who is a big fan of the Kat Von D shadows, definitely pick this up for that friend or family member, and for the collector in you or in somebody else, whoever that might be. But if you want to save your money and spend it on a palette that might give you a bit of a better color payoff, then I'd say spend your money elsewhere. You really don't need to pick this one up. The metal shadows in this palette are really, really nice, but I don't know if I can justify the $70 plus price tag just for these foiled shadows here. I would rather go out and pick up her individual shadows and use those as I need them. I am very, very torn about this palette, but I would say you probably don't need it. If I were you, I would pass and I would find another palette to purchase for the holidays and for your friends if you're looking for great gifts. palettes. It breaks my heart to say that because I really do love the Kat Von D products and I've never been disappointed with any of her eyeshadow palettes, but this one here just didn't quite do it for me. Make sure you tune in to the end of this video to see all of the swatches from this palette so you can see for yourself exactly what all of the colors look like. If you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Leave me a comment in the comment section below letting me know what your thoughts are on the Kat Von D palette and if you have had a chance to play with it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day no matter where you are in the world. Stay beautiful and I'll see you soon. Bye guys. Ready for swatches? And break.